G'day and welcome to SuperCoach AFL Live. It is your boy Dossie here, filling in for our Peyton for one final week here with Matt Forrest on this Thursday night, April 17th, 2025. All the teams for round 6 are in, and there's a few big names, both for our SuperCoach teams and for general AFL teams. And we're going to get through all of them, plus our captains, trade plans, and some questions. Make sure you get those in right from the start. We will get to those a bit later. But first up, welcome, Foz. This is your show. I'm joining you.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like my show, but yeah, thanks for having me. I guess it's exciting. I'm loving this Thursday night footy. It throws my whole week out. I've spent the entire day thinking it's Friday, but can't complain about now. 5 days of footy?
That's it. Basically, is with Friday tomorrow. A couple of games for us on the menu as well. So keen to get stuck into all this, but let's start just with the Thursday night game tonight with the changes that we've got. Nothing super major for our SuperCoach teams, but there's probably one name. So I'll just go through the changes. We'll get the teams up on the screen in a second, but Sam Marshall and James Tunstall in, Will McLaughlin and Bruce Reveal out for Brisbane. Nothing major there for our SuperCoach teams, but there's one here in Collingwood, Jordan De Goey back in the side, and the person that we're going to talk about, who we're wondering whether it will affect them or not, is Ned Long after his massive game last week. What do you think, Foz? Are you looking at Long as an option, and should we be worried with De Goey back in the side?
I don't think he's an option. I know that he's been a popular trade in at 280k. I just think he's a bit too expensive for mine. I do think that he's past the sub vest. That's not his role anymore, and that's great for him. But I'm just a little bit worried about De Goey coming back in. He had such a great game last week, and the fact that it just seems to be sort of a bit of a revolving door in that midfield mix. Sidebottom and Pendlebury just keep going on forever. But it's great that he's playing good footy. I think there'll be a little bit of natural regression. I don't think he can put out 29 disposal performance every week. And the money we've sort of missed on him a little bit. So he's already made 80 or 90k. So I'm not jumping on him. I can understand the reason behind getting on board with him. But yeah, not for me, unfortunately. But I do love him as a player.
Yep, not named the sub. Thankfully, Ed Allen and Sam Marshall are the subs for tonight's game. But named on the ball. I can see the temptation. And it's funny, we were probably talking about the same option a couple of weeks ago for the likes of a Ryan Marrick, and I think he paid off, but a Bailey Humphrey perhaps lost that role, and that's not looking like such a good selection. So really a toss of the coin. I know there are some out there that are keen. I know, shout out to SuperCoach God YouTube channel. He said he's going to chuck the VC on him if he got it 50 likes. I think he got about 500, so he's having to put the VC on him there. But let's get into the rest of the games this round, and we will bring them up on the screen here. So starting with tomorrow's game, we've got two games on Friday footy, Good Friday. North Melbourne v Carlton is the first one here that we're going to look at, Foz. And a big name back in for North with George Wardlaw coming in, Hardiman omitted, and Carlton, a couple of big changes as well. We got Blake Acres in, Elijah Hollins and Lewis Young in. Sam Doherty, the big omission there, Mackay out and Kemp, unfortunately, out as well. But Foz, anything to talk about there with the big Doherty omission?
Yeah, the main SuperCoach selection or non-selection, I guess, is Mark Pitnet not named for Carlton. He's an emergency there. He'll be playing in the VFL for a second hit out after his calf injury in the preseason. So it gives us another week of Tom De Koning, I guess, just dominating in the ruck. There was a thought that they'd bring in Pitnet to wrestle with Cherry throughout the course of the game and have De Koning wrestle a little bit further up forward. But it looks like they're pretty happy to go with the athletic ruck against Cherry. So we'll see how that unfolds for them. I imagine Young will probably play as that pinch hitting ruck in the absence of Harry Mackay.
Unreal. Got too excited looking at Georgie Wardlaw. Missed the whole Pitnet there as well. So that's fantastic news for TDK owners and the lead story, of course. People worried that when he's back in, if Pitnet does come back in at some point, Foz, are you worried about TDK going forward? I personally am of the opinion that I don't think it's going to affect him enough, and maybe he does come in and out based on matchups, but I'm just thinking TDK is a season-long hold here.
I think that it's probably shaping up to be that. I know that throughout the course of the preseason, Pitnet spent a lot of time training as a forward and working on his forward craft. I don't know if you remember the elimination final. He kicked 2 goals in the space of 5 minutes. I don't think he's the most athletic key forward option, especially comparison to Koning. But I think it's looking like De Koning is going to be a pretty good option as your R1, R2 for the whole season. Especially with the way he started. He certainly earned the trust of Michael Voss as that number 1 mantle holder. But also, I think the fact is that the ruck division this year has been very fluid and players have fluctuated in and out. Cherry looked like he was by far and away the best ruck in the competition, and he's I wouldn't say struggled this year, but he's had his injury concerns, he's had his form concerns. So, I think that if you can get a player who's going to average 105, 110, then that's all you can really ask for at this stage.
Some more big ruck news heading to the second game on the Friday, West Coast versus Essendon. Obviously, Essendon losing Nick Bryan last week, but talking on the West Coast side, Matt Flynn, anyone that was patient enough to hold Matt Flynn to this point in their SuperCoach team's finally getting rewarded. I doubt there's too many people that held this long, but Jeremy McGovern in, Matt Flynn straight in and into the ruck, Tim Kelly back from the waffle, and Elijah Hewitt coming in on the interchange there. Some big news for Matt Flynn coming back in, and we get a look at him for non-owners this week to maybe go back there. Were you a Matt Flynn owner, Foz?
I owned him for all of a week. And then I think I shipped him off for Archer Reid, which has worked out well for me. I don't know if I can go back again. Just the fluidity of their ruck lineup with Bailey Williams sort of there and Archer Reid having a pinch hit every now and then, and obviously Flynn's injury history. I couldn't do it myself, but I guess that's because I owned him to start the season. I don't think I could jump back on that train. Whereas, someone who might be wanting to, downgrade somewhere in the ruck, I don't know if there's an injury this week, maybe that's an option, but I guess we'll see.
Couple of big omissions as well. Unfortunately, if you jumped on Sandy Brock early, I know the Phantom did. He's been omitted. And the other person we could have jumped on, Clay Hall, also omitted. So some brutal blows if you jumped on those rookies. Hopefully they're back in the side soon. Big one here on the AFL front, Foz, is Oscar Allen managed in this game. So interesting call there for the skipper there.
Yeah, a lot of teams will typically manage a player on the back of going into a travel weekend. Obviously, they're playing over in Perth, so it is a little bit surprising to see them rest their skipper there on the back of relatively poor form to start the season, swinging back and forward into defence and back into the forward line, and obviously all the talk about him potentially moving on as a free agent in the off season. So it might just be let's give him a rest and clear his head a little bit. Hopefully he doesn't have any interstate plans over the weekend for a coffee, but I guess we'll see that in Monday's paper.
We sure will. Now, Bailey Williams out as well, so we've got the Matt Flynn solidified in the ruck role there. Tom Gross, interestingly, very popular rookie option this week, named on the bench, but that's good news. At least he is in the team. He's going to make you money. Hopefully not the sub. You'd imagine someone maybe like an Elijah Hewitt comes in off that injury. Maybe they ease him back in as the sub. So hopefully good news there. But one final thing, Foz, as a Weagles Nuffy, before I move on to the next, to the Dons, I just have to, it's Harley Reid's birthday today, so we have to...
How long did you spend on this graphic?
Happy birthday, Harley. We will move on now, though, thankfully, to the next game. The Dons, the only big in there is Peter Wright. So anything else we want to talk about before moving on?
Sardell Hawley named the last spot on the bench again. Do you reckon he cops a sub vest?
Gee, you'd hope not, but I think I'll stay firm with my opinion that I'm just going to wait. Even if he goes up a little bit in value, you're still not going to, you're only going to lose about 30 or 40K, and then you can be sure if he is going to be in that role. But gee, you'd hope he gets a full run at it soon. So that's definitely a wait and see.
The issue is also he's missing out on match fitness and conditioning. So that's the teams will typically, if they give a player 2 weeks as a sub, will either give them the full game in the third or drop them back to the VFL where they can build that match fitness up. Obviously, Adelaide had 3 games or 4 games to start the season with Sid Draper as the starting sub, but one of those games he did come on early in the second quarter. So there is that, I guess, the management side of things there. But so hopefully that bodes well for El Hawley, but I guess we'll wait and see. Sardis can't get a game either. Still sitting in the emergencies.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. I think the final thing to just quickly, briefly touch on would be Sam Draper getting forward status last week, then Nick Bryan's injury. Todd Goldstein's still not in the team. Peter Wright comes in. You'd imagine that he chops out. But, I mean, it's probably for me. I can't go there in Classic, but in draft, I think Draper stocks up and maybe even Peter Wright comes into contention, especially against West Coast. You might want to stream him, but I think that's all the time I want to spend on that. Melbourne versus Fremantle is the next game, and that is the first game on the Saturday. We've got Tholstrup in, Fullerton in, and Disco Dan Turner in. The big omission, Jack Henderson there is the one. Another rookie bullet that we've got to deal with this week, Foz.
Yeah, he was out for mine. I think I made that decision halfway through the game last weekend. So, hasn't made the money that we hoped he would. He was obviously a very cheap rookie option, but I think it's only about 60 grand he's made us in the end. So a little bit disappointing. He couldn't hit that 150 mark that everyone sort of aims for, but I guess you trade him out and you start again.
Yeah, just unfortunate that we've got a couple all happening at once and all basement price. So it's not, you're not getting too much money to move on here from these players. Pat Voss gets out of the Fremantle team and Oscar McDonald in, so nothing major there. But some interesting, that could be an interesting game for our captains. We will be talking captains a bit later on. And Sean Darcy gets his second crack at solo rucking as well there. Adelaide versus GWS is the next game on the menu. Nick Murray and Sam Berry in, Lockie Scholl omitted, and James Peatling's out through suspension. I think I'll move on to GWS with no changes. So pretty simple one to deal with there, Foz.
Yeah, boring one to talk about. Jesse Oganona was floated as potential out this week, but he's been named and will play, probably cop the Mark Keane matchup there. Could also, I mean, Nick Murray's been brought in as another mature body up forward, but that's going to be a high-scoring game either way, I think, for at least just looking at footy purposes. Both teams love their attacking, and Adelaide at least don't like defending. So, it'll be a good one to watch, even if there's not a huge amount of SuperCoach relevancy.
And Bedford straight to Dorse, is that the plan?
I would think so. I can't see him going to anyone else. That'll be a good matchup as well, because Dawson's a good one who can fight through a tag.
Richmond versus Gold Coast on the Saturday night is up next, and Bolter comes in. Big AFL storyline, certainly not for our SuperCoach teams though. Samson Ryan and Sam Lawler, if you held him, you'll be hopefully making plenty more cash there as well. I'd love to watch him play. Unfortunately, I traded him myself, but no major SuperCoach outs for the Tigers. But yeah, it's good to see Sam Lawler back in. And in comes Connor Butterick for Gold Coast, and out Sam Cleese, a rookie favourite of yesteryear, unfortunately making his way out of the team. But stay tuned for that game, because there is some relevancy for our captain segment there, Foz. Just a little bit of a teaser for the Chiefs captains coming up later. Sydney versus Port Adelaide. Certainly some relevance here for our SuperCoach teams. Joel Amarty's the only one out. A few players back into the extended squad there for the Sunday, including Al's cousin there, Ben Payton, coming back into the mix, but he's certainly on a few trade blocks, I think, this week. And for Port Adelaide, we have Finlayson in, Rory Atkinson in, and Darcy Byrne-Jones. Obviously, these are the extended squads here. But the player that we were looking for at Sydney is a massive trade target this week in Haydn Cleary. Is he straight in for you as well, Foz? He's named in the team here again.
I can't fit him in this. I mean, I can fit him in this week, but I'm not going to trade for him. I'm only making the one trade this weekend, and it's Tom Gross in. So I've decided to skip over Cleary. Hopefully, he doesn't burn me too hard. But I like his job security. I think he's probably scoring at the upper echelon of what he's capable of. I can't see him going much higher than that. No, there's probably going to be a little bit of regression over the course of the season. So, not for me, but I can see why he's a popular trade-in target.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, he's on the extended bench on the Sunday, same as Riley Bice. So you'd hope those two come in. You'd hope that if you are making your trade plans, that both of those are safe, early days before having to lock those away, given that is the Sunday game. But yeah, I mean, given the way he's been playing, I think Fantasy Freako put out some sort of stat that he's, one of the team leaders in handball receives above some of the other popular SuperCoach options. So you'd hope that Haydn Cleary is in the mix again there. And looking at Port Adelaide, let's just look at where Connor Rozee is named. He's named in the guts, but I just want to talk to you. We had some, the hipster Matt Turner was out at training today. He said that he's been training at half back again today, even though he's named at midfield. Are you tempted? Under 500K, 137 last round. He's just had these ups and down games, which has kept his price, pretty tasty. But are you interested there, Foz?
Yeah, he looked really impressive last week against Hawthorn. The fact that he not only is he damaging by foot, but he was also pushing further up the ground. He obviously kicked a couple of goals from outside 50 and tore Hawthorn apart. So I'm certainly, it's not for me this week, but I'm keeping an eye on him for one more. I think even if he cops a little bit of a price hike, you can get him for 530, at least with 2 weeks of data at half back. I'm fine with that. But if he goes big again, he's going to be a really popular selection in the coming weeks. Is he a chance to get that DPP and fill our back line? Potentially, if he stays there.
I hope so. He's coming in for me this week unless my trades change. But this is the huge news this week for all super coaches. The Bont is back. SuperCoach favorite, SuperCoach GOAT in the last couple of years. The Bont is back in for the Bulldogs. That's huge news. He is at a monster price. For anyone that's asking, I don't know, I haven't checked the questions yet, but we'll get to those very shortly. If you're looking to bring him straight in, I would say do not do that just yet. His price is just way too high. You need to see it first. I know it's the Bont, but gee, we've got a lot of bargains out there available as well. But gee, it's good to see him back, Foz, back in the squad for the Doggies.
Yeah, obviously a delayed start to the season for him. As a non-owner, as many people will be at this point of the year, hopefully he starts slowly and we can get him a bit cheaper than what his starting price is. But for the Dogs' purposes, super exciting to get him back in the side. It'll be interesting to see what that does to their midfield mix. I know that Joel Frazier was a really popular selection to start the season. He started on halfback, then moved into the midfield, played a little bit of wing. He's named on the wing for Sunday's game, but he's also spent time in the half-forward line. So hopefully he gets a little bit more clarity over his role, gets back on that halfback line and repays the faith that people have had in him if they've held him.
Yeah, and I wonder, Sam Davidson, one that myself included, plenty of people are looking to trade out just because he's got a little bit of meat on the bone in that rookie front that we can actually trade to make some upgrades. Like I said, I'm looking at bringing in a Connor Rozee, for example. That's definitely an upgrade there, but he is on the extended interchange, as is Riley Sanders, who a few people are still holding on to there. Moving over to St Kilda, I've already seen someone that I'm interested in, but mainly for draft. Need to see him first. Ari Schoenmaker straight on the field in the halfback flank. I love to see that. He's been dominating the VFL. I think he's at a really interesting price, but probably more so for draft leagues given the job security. And onto the extended bench, though, is Harry Boyd, the other one that's putting panic into Rowan Marshall owners and also some hope for the ruck benches of many coaches there, Foz, but that is just an extended game, extended interchange for the Sunday evening game. Moving on to the final game of the round, which isn't out yet.
You won't see. Yeah, no. Teams get named tomorrow for the.
So we won't be able to do the full preview then. But Geelong v Hawthorn will be out tomorrow, so keep an eye out on that. Shall we move into the next segment, Foz, and maybe get some questions? But before we do that, we'll move on to your best bet of the week. Welcome to this week's best bet segment powered by Better. Take it away, Foz.
I've had a couple of wins here, so I'm pretty happy with myself. I'm looking at Saturday night's game, Richmond and Gold Coast, as one. I'm doing it. I'm being a little bit cheeky, and I'm going a two-legger after my win last week. So I'm going to load up a little bit and use my profits to try and score a big fish. I reckon Ben King coming off a 5-goal haul, 6-goal haul. I think it was 5 actually, but he dominated gather round. He's coming up against Richmond, who has not been able to stop much. He'll obviously play primarily against Noah Bolter, I imagine, which will might keep him in check a little bit. But on a fast Marvel track, I see him kicking a bag. So I'm going to take him for 6+ at $6, which I don't think is great value, but I'm going to take it. And I'm going to pair it with Josh Tracy, who's playing Melbourne, a banged-up Stephen May, an old Tom McDonald, and Harrison Petty, who looks like he's just gone missing in the last. He's forgotten how to play football down there. So is there only a chance to play at the MCG until finals, Freo? So I'm going to back him in to kick 5 and pair them together, and it's paying $39. So let's chuck a little cheeky tenner on that one, and hopefully that can stock us for the season.
That is a huge one there from you, Foz. Love that. What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit the website. All right, it's time to get into question time now. So if you have got your questions in, we'll get to all these or as many as we can. But if not, get them in now wherever you're watching. This is streamed live Thursday nights on SuperCoach AFL Facebook, on our X, formerly known as Twitter page, and also Code Sports YouTube. So we'll check all the comments coming through from the various platforms right now and get to as many as we can. We've still got the Chiefs captains to finish off the show as well there. But let's have a look. Now that Hall is dropped, this one from Supercoach Dog on X. Now that Hall is dropped, would you trade Hall or Moraes to upgrade? So what would you do there, Foz? You're looking at trading a Clay Hall. He's only made a little bit of money. Would you just hope that he comes back into the side and trade one of these other fatter cash cows?
Personally, I wouldn't trade either of them. I don't like trading a rookie when they've made less than 100K. I want to try and fatten them up a little bit. But Hall is, that's the second time he's been omitted. There's no real structure to West Coast team selection. They're chopping and changing each week. So, it might just take a one decent waffle performance that gets him back into the side. But there is the nerves of him, not being selected, or when he does get recalled, he's, the sub, or he's got a limited role. He seems to be playing a little bit of a run with role, trying to learn the tagging or defensive side of the midfield. So that's probably going to limit him a little bit. Whereas Moraes, I think, is firmly in the 22 now. He's playing that
named on field
well
again. Yeah, named on field again. You can't trade someone like that.
I don't think so. I think that the job security is there. The scoring potential is probably not there as much being out on that wing, but he's, hopefully he can can have another decent score at some point. He's gone in the 40s the last couple of weeks. So I'd be leaning towards Hall over Moraes just purely on job security, but I'd probably try and hold both.
Yeah, hold both. Trade the one that's not named, though, if you have to, if they're your only two options. It's this one from Matthew. Do I trade Roberts as part of a third boost with Henderson and Berry to get Cleary, Gross, and Holmes?
Got a third boost already.
It's big, but I don't mind it. I don't mind using your boost nice and early if it's completely upgrading your team early enough, but especially if you're getting Max Holmes, who's looking like a superstar this season.
Yeah, he's looking great, isn't he? I am holding Roberts. I want to see another week or two of him alongside Riley Bice and Nick Blakey. I'm a little bit disappointed in him, to be honest. But in saying that, I have way more problems on my field than an underperforming premium. I'd rather get off my rookies off the field first and worry about a guy who might score 80 or might score 90 instead of 105. But that's just me personally. I think if you're frustrated by his lack of production, you could give him the flick. He did have 7 turnovers last week, so that's one thing to note. Is his scoring was clearly hampered by the fact he kept coughing up clangers. So I'm watching. If he scores poorly again, I might change my tune a little bit. But I just think that his role's still relatively there, even though Bice is taking a bit of a chunk out of him.
Yeah, I feel like Holmes, I feel like he'll be the one to get tagged as well this week on Monday. If anyone,
he doesn't know how to beat a tag either. He's struggled a little bit. I'd wait. Also, Connor Nash is under that injury cloud with his hand, so that might be one to watch as well. Whether he if he gets selected, but it sounds like he'll play, so he might get a little bit of attention from big Connor Nash.
SuperCoach God, we mentioned him just before on the VC on Ned Long. He traded out Matty Flynn last week. Absolutely gutted. I know there'd be a few coaches. I think it was two weeks ago for me. I'm sure he'll score well as well. That's the problem. Like when he's in, he's going to score well. He's been dominating the waffle. So he might be a trade back in next week. But yeah, with his job security, it's not looking too good. Here we go from Reese on YouTube. I'm torn between fielding Lindsay or Ned Long.
Ned Long.
What do you boys think? It's got to be Ned Long there for sure.
He's coming up against a relatively restrictive midfield in Brisbane, but when he starts games, he has a pretty good record. He's already posted 2 tons. Lindsay, named at halfback for Melbourne, is intriguing, but he's also coming off that knee injury. He's had 1 week of easing back into it. I don't think he's got the heights that, I'm just purely looking at ceiling. Long's put up a 118 and Lindsay's top scorer is in the 70s, I think, from memory. Correct me if I'm wrong. So going off that, I'd be going Long.
Yeah, absolutely going Long there. The role is just prime at the moment. And even though I'm sort of on the fence as to whether I pick him, I think he's going to score well. It's just whether it's going to be well enough and whether it's going to be consistent enough in the role. Like if he's playing the role, which he's named in that role tonight, I think he's going to go pretty well. Now, we've had a few people just asking, Bice not picked, Bice emergency. Well, the problem is it's extended squads at the moment for that Sunday afternoon game. So he's on the extended bench, which is, why he's coming up as an orange dot on your SuperCoach squad at the moment. He's not actually named emergency just yet. He's on the extended squad. And with the way he's playing, there is just absolutely no way. I mean, if Cox dropped him, that would be one of the more bizarre droppings in recent memory. He's played unbelievable. So I'm sure Bice will be in the squad. We've had another coach, another SuperCoach saying Flynn's sanity here. There's a few more questions here. Sorry, just trying to find another. Oh, Gross or Cleary from Tim C. What do you think there? I know you mentioned you're only doing the one sort of trade this week, so you've made up your mind there.
Yeah, I've gone Gross over Cleary. I had a similar sort of thought. Could have gone either. I'm trying to not burn too many trades early, especially on rookies that have only gone up a little bit in price. But I've gone Gross just because I think he's in a worse side. He should get a better role. He's playing more midfield than Cleary is. Obviously, Cleary's a small forward there, so that's the way that I'm leaning. But once again, if you can go either, I'd go Gross. But if it's position dependent, then whatever suits your team structure more.
Yeah, I quite like both myself as well. I think I've said that. This one from Luke Ryan Marrick. Just realised this round goes for 5 days. Yeah, I really only I only realised the Monday game today, to be honest. I was pretty out of it after gather round over here. And yeah, it's a long one here. Is Clay Hall a trade? We've already mentioned that. We think he's a hold at the moment. Also, Jed Bustlinger named on the bench, only first round draft pick not to play a game from the 2022 draft class. One to watch there, Foz?
Oh, I didn't realise he was the only one that hadn't played a game yet. He was always a bit of a project as that intercepting key defender, but he's shown plenty in his time in the VFL. So I think the Dogs are really excited at his long-term potential. Yeah, got to give him a debut at some point. Otherwise, he's not going to sign an extension. He's going to leave in the off-season and head over to WA. But he's I really like him. So hopefully he can get a game and repay a bit of faith.
Couple more questions here before Chiefs Captains makes its secondary appearance on the show. Field trainer or Zach Reed? I've got that conundrum this week. I'm leading towards Reed. What do you reckon, Foz?
Oh, can you loop? I'd be leaning. Just trainer's been going well recently. I mean, Reed has also been going well, but I'd back in Trainer. I think. I don't know. I don't think you can go wrong, really.
Yeah, I think they'll both do well. Up against West Coast is Zach Reed. Up against his brother. It's his brother, isn't it? Archer Reed
Yeah,
for the Eagles. So that could be a fun little
that'll be a bit of
matchup
fun.
there. Luke Trainer up against Gold Coast. I just think Gold Coast is going to be like that. Could be a bit of a bloodbath as well. Out at Marvel, I think I'm going to lean towards Reed, and hopefully they get a little bit of a chippy as the game goes on. And finally, worth picking up Bont or Dacos. So if you're going either way, I go the value. I'd go Dacos and just wait and see Bont coming off the injury. Are you the same?
I'm the same. I don't think you can spend that much on a guy who's coming back from 6 or 7 weeks on the sideline. So that's just me. But I guess it sounds like it's you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, it is time for the moment everyone has been waiting for. It is the Chiefs captains. So this had a astounding segment last week. Everyone was very happy with my selections. Not really; they didn't do too well. But Al's off, so I've got to do my best here. Maybe we'll get some of your thoughts as we go. Now, I've sort of separated this into a bit of VC action and then my top 5 captains. So Nick Dacos, obviously, you can chuck the VC on him if you do have a loophole. I also think Zach Merritt, I know a few people are bringing him in. He's got the Friday night game. I think those two are going to go absolutely ham. So Nick Dacos, I'm not sure what direction is that going to go, but he's had breaking the tag last week from monster score. I'd be happy putting the VC on either of those. I just don't like, straight captaining someone on a Thursday or Friday night. My players that are in the top 5, though. Number 5, we have Andrew Brayshaw versus Melbourne. Could be maybe a little bit higher, but really like his game last week. Was my captain last week for 155. Melbourne's another pretty easy opposition at the moment. Think he'll do fantastic against them. Noah Anderson up against Richmond. That's a bit of a point of difference. I know not too many people own him, but he's also in for a big game against the Tigs. Jack Sinclair against the Dogs at number 3. If you do have him, lots of coaches do. I'd be interested to put the C on Jack Sinclair. Fantastic form. There is a little bit of a risk that he'll cop some attention from Bevo, but quite like Jack Sinclair. Maxi Gawn up against a still mildly underdone Sean Darcy. Looked pretty good and pretty trim, I might add, last week, but still think Max Gawn can get the job done against him. Coming off a 145 against Essendon. And at number 1, Foz, another pretty unique player in my squad, though, so that's why I get the bias, and he's at number 1. It is Matty Rowell. Matty Rowell against Richmond. I am happily putting as my number 1 captain this week in round 6. Still at only 559k, so I've seen a few people trading him in 30k cheaper than Nick Dacos. I'd probably still lean Dacos season long, but Matty Rowell at number 1. Anyone else that you're interested in, Foz, or did you get around the Chiefs captains there?
No, I do like especially the 2 Gold Coast guys, if you've got them. And I also really like the Max Gawn call against Sean Darcy coming off his sort of going into his second game of the season. I don't know if I love any from tonight's game. Obviously, Nick Dacos might get a little bit of attention from Jared Berry. Lockie Neal might get a little bit of attention as well. I really like Will Ashcroft as a bit of a smoky. I know he's done outside of his round 1 match where I think he scored about 80 odd. He's actually been just churning them out. He went 73 against Sydney, but then he's gone in the last 3, 136, 130, and 112. So Collingwood leak points in the midfield. I think they're about 15th or 16th for conceding points to midfielders this year. I know it's a relatively small sample size, but he's the one who won't get any attention from a tag or from a run with type player. So there's a chance that he puts up a 130 odd tonight. Well, fingers crossed from my side anyway.
Yeah, interesting. There's probably one more that I didn't mention as well. If you do have a Josh Dunkley or something, that's perfect. It speaks exactly to your point there. So as Lowe was asking that on YouTube, yeah, VC Dunks if you've got him. VC anyone from tonight, I think there's probably a few chances there. As you said, the midfield little bit leaky, could be a good option. And well, if you're Supercoach God, you'll also have the VC on Ned Long. So good luck to him, and good luck to everyone that's watched along on the live stream as well. Very quick fire questions here to finish, Foz. Is Lockie Ash going to be a top 10 defender from Arnold?
No, I think top 15 can make a case.
Yep, I'm with you there. Hall, Hendo, and Roberts to Merritt, Cleary, and Gross. Clay Hall, Henderson, and Matty Roberts. Another Matty Roberts trade out there.
I wouldn't do it, but I think short term it makes sense. Gets you a bit of cash gen, but then also gets you about 300 points from Merritt when he scores 150 and he's your captain. So don't hate it for this week.
Chase, who to VC? Nick Dacos or Lockie Neal there? We didn't mention Neal.
I'd go Neal.
Neal.
I think.
Okay.
I think nah. Oh, I just have Brisbane winning over Collingwood tonight. So I think back the winning side, less likely to get an exact tag. I think Dacos will definitely get one. So I think Neal.
And the final one here from John, Hugh McCluggage, another player. I think we're just happy with any midfielder. If you've got the VC, you just prefer to put the VC. I wouldn't straight captain, as you've said here. I wouldn't straight captain anyone. But if you've got the opportunity to loophole, I like a VC. This is just a general feeling. I don't know how much stats around it. I don't like putting the C on anyone that's playing in the heated Thursday night or Friday night games. I know we've got a Friday afternoon game tomorrow, but like a Thursday night or Friday night game, there's something about it. There's just high pressure. Eyes are on you. Usually you don't see those monster ceiling scores. Like I think there was a little bit of research done about this a couple of years ago, and it was like the Sunday Arvo low pressure games are where you get your points. So I'm not leaning towards that myself, but good luck to everyone. Thanks, Matt, for joining me on the live stream, and hopefully we get Al back next week for some more solid captain choices. The Chiefs captain's retired now permanently, I think. But thanks very much, Matt, and thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next week.